Exclusive, Reacher Season 2 production designer on making the hit series Sizzle. Reacher is always action-packed, but fans were shocked by the recent turn of events. In episode 6 of the hit Prime Video series, shooters took out Dominic Lombardozzi's detective Guy Russo in a gritty scene that lit up social media. It's yet another powerful creative punch from the series that entered Season 2 with gusto and is not letting up. This season is based on Lee Child's 11th book in the Jack Reacher series, Bad Luck and Trouble. Hunky star Alan Ritchson returned in fine form as Reacher, and Maria Sten, Serene DeSwan, and Sean Sipos round out the cast as vital members of the 110th MP Special Investigations Unit. Other standouts include Ferdinand Kingsley playing a mercenary, Robert Patrick, and Lombardozzi's tough NYPD detective. Look for more twists as the season plays out. But none of the drama would be this effective without the vision of Reacher's Season 2 production designer, Naz Gashtaspor, who opens up with MovieWeb about her concepts for the season and some of the challenges she faced. Dive in. Naz Gashtaspor made a dent in a highly competitive industry by never wavering in her determination to become a successful production designer. In 2016, 10 years after she stormed onto the scene, she nabbed a Directors Guild of Canada nomination for Best Production Design after working on Group Home, a story about a single father running a home for abused Toronto children and teens in the early 1980s. She'd go on to be instrumental behind the scenes in Baroness Vaughn's sketch show, In the Dark, Supergirl, and now the second season of Reacher, which, judging by this show's popularity, should give Prime Video plenty of incentive to go for another round. Season 1 of Reacher was very successful, and I just wanted to make sure that the second season looked very good and was as authentic as it could be to the locations that they were supposed to be in, Gashtaspor said of coming on board the hit show. Like New York, we wanted to make sure we had some scenes shooting in New York, parts of it was shot here, then Atlantic City was another location. She added, Season 2 began with our favorite hotshot military police investigator, Reacher, receiving a coded message that the members of his former U.S. Army unit were being murdered. While so many of today's action films and TV series rely heavily on CGI to bring massive set pieces, Gashtaspor opted to minimize VFX in favor of practical effects and stunt work. This proved to be both exciting and challenging, but the choice became a key component of the show's practical approach. To that end, she built elaborate life-size sets while working with last-minute location changes, weather elements, and limited resources. I like the balance of VFX versus practical effects, but I always love doing things practically because it just looks way better all the time or most of the time, she said. I know sometimes we are up against time restraints and troubleshooting, so we always have to weigh those pros and cons, but I'm a firm pusher for practical effects. Every set has its own challenges, she went on to say, and in this season of Reacher, one helicopter scene was unique. That was a big, very fun, and challenging build because it was based on a real model of a helicopter, Super Puma, she added. I picked the helicopter and we went in and looked at the inside, but the inside is smaller than we needed it to be. So, trying to figure out the balance of making the inside of a helicopter match the outside without it being massive was one of the first things that we had to figure out. When Reacher hit screens in 2022, it immediately captured audiences with its raw intensity, visceral action, and its striking visual storytelling. Alan Ritchson's commanding portrayal of the titular character, a larger-than-life former military police officer who's a force to be reckoned with, was met with rave reviews. But what truly set the show apart was how well its atmosphere matched the hard-hitting nature of the story. Now, with Season 2 of Reacher on the horizon, the team behind the series is doubling down on everything that made the first season successful, with one key player leading the charge, production designer John Davis. In an exclusive interview, Davis opens up about the creative process behind bringing the world of Reacher to life and how he worked to make the second season not only sizzle, but also deliver a visual punch that matches the show's fierce tone. Season 2 promises to be bigger, darker, and more explosive, and Davis is confident fans will feel it in every scene. Building Reacher's world for Davis, the challenge of designing Reacher goes beyond creating striking sets. It's about building an immersive world that feels as unforgiving and rough around the edges as Jack Reacher himself. Reacher's universe is gritty, grounded, and harsh, just like the character, Davis explains. He's not the kind of guy who operates in polished, shiny environments. He thrives in places that have a history, where the walls have cracks and the furniture has seen better days. In Season 2, we really wanted to lean into that even more. Davis and his team scoured multiple locations to find just the right settings. From abandoned factories and rural backroads to urban environments teeming with quiet menace, every location had to feel lived in, authentic, and dangerous. But the design didn't stop at finding locations, it was about what went into each space. Authenticity through detail, it's the little details that make a world feel real, Davis says. We went out of our way to find materials that felt rugged and natural, like weathered wood, aged metal, and old leather. These textures reflect Reacher's personality. He's a man of few words, but incredible impact, and we wanted the sets to echo that. For example, Davis talks about how they approached Reacher's temporary living quarters, whether it's a small, nondescript motel room or a rundown cabin. In Season 1, we spent time showing how Reacher can make anywhere his base of operations. In Season 2, we're emphasizing the environments that reflect his ability to adapt. He doesn't need luxury. He needs a place that's functional, maybe with a cracked window and a broken chair, but that doesn't matter to him. It's about how that space helps move the story forward. Elevating the stakes, Season 2 promises to raise the stakes with bigger action sequences, and that means the design had to evolve with it. For Davis, the challenge was to build spaces that would hold up under the intensity of Reacher's brutal encounters. We have some scenes this season where Reacher is fighting in confined spaces, he says. The challenge there is making sure those spaces feel claustrophobic, but also visually interesting. We didn't want flat, boring backdrops. We wanted the walls to feel like they're closing in on him as he fights. So we played with the geometry of the rooms and used lighting to cast heavy shadows, making the space feel more dangerous. Speaking of lighting, it's one of the key components Davis used to make Season 2 stand out. We've gone darker this season, literally, he laughs. The stakes are higher, and the mood is more intense. We used a lot of low-key lighting to create that tension. A single overhead light casting long shadows down narrow hallways, or a flickering street lamp in a rainy alley, those are the kinds of visuals we're playing with. Collaborating with Alan Ritchson and the action team, part of what makes Reacher work is the seamless integration of the sets with the action. Davis highlights how closely he worked with Alan Ritchson and the stunt team to ensure that the environments not only looked good, but also functioned as part of the story. Alan is an incredible physical actor, and his presence on set is magnetic, Davis notes. We had to create spaces where he could throw punches, jump over obstacles, or even use the environment to his advantage. There's one fight in a warehouse where we designed it so that the shelves collapse, and Reacher uses that chaos to turn the tables on his opponents. Those kinds of moments are what make the design so crucial to the action. Designing for emotion, though Reacher is known for its action, Davis is quick to point out that it's not just about punches and explosions. There's a surprising amount of emotional depth this season, he says. Reacher is still this stoic, unflinching character, but the situations he's thrown into require him to face darker parts of himself. To reflect that, Davis infused certain scenes with subtle visual cues. When Reacher is at his most introspective, we wanted the spaces around him to feel cold,